If you're thinking of buying a home, don't do it. And if you have a home, sell it. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 thoughts that you can think about, not many people talk about, when it comes to home ownership, this idea of home ownership. A lot of people, my parents included, and definitely my grandparents, they think owning a home is the best thing ever. My generation, and the generation that's coming up now, they're not thinking that way anymore, and I'll tell you why. Number one, we realize that there's actually no such thing as home ownership. You can buy a home, but you'll never own a home. So why bother? Let me explain. When you buy a car, let's say the car's 20 grand, you buy the car for $20,000 from the dealership, they sign it, put it in your name, car's paid in full, park that in your garage. No one's ever going to be able to legally come and take that car away from you. You own the car. It's yours. That car is not at risk of being taken away from you if you don't pay someone something on an ongoing basis, because you own the car. That's the definition of ownership. It's yours and it can't be taken away. And you don't have to continue paying for it. If you had to continue paying for it, then it wouldn't be yours. You'd be renting it. So let's look at a home. What happens when you buy a home? Or you buy a home, you actually own it. Well, turns out you don't, because you have to pay the government rent on it every single year. They call it property tax, but it's really just rent, because you're renting it from them. So property taxes are typically 1%. So if you buy a, say, $1 million home, you're paying about $10,000 a year on taxes on that home, depending which state, depending which province you live in. So you don't actually own the home. You'll never own the home. So this idea of, oh, I'll just buy a home and I'll be able to chill in there and everyone can screw off and I don't have to worry about paying anyone anything anymore. I don't have to worry about paying landlords. No, you still have to pay your landlord. You just have to pay Biden or Trudeau or whoever your government leader is. 1% approximately per year is what you'll be paying on an ongoing basis until the day you die. So, still renting. That's the first reason why owning a home is silly, because you never actually own the home. Second reason why buying a home is completely unnecessary and probably a bad idea is because you don't need to own the home. You don't need to buy it. Do you need to buy a hospital to use the hospital? No, you just go in the hospital and use it. Do you need to buy the mall to go into the mall and use the mall? No, you just go in the mall, use it, and get out. Do you need to buy a car to catch an Uber? No. Do you need to buy Uber to use Uber? No. Do you need to buy stock in Uber to use Uber? No. Do you need to buy Chipotle to go into Chipotle and grab a burrito bowl? No. You just go in there, grab your burrito bowl, and get out. You don't even need to buy a freaking car. You can just rent a car, right? You can lease it. Whatever. Like, you don't have to buy most things, and so you don't. So what gives you the idea that you have to buy a home? Well, that idea was implanted into your mind way back when you were a little child, probably, because you saw your parents owned a home and they told you to buy a home, your grandparents owned a home, they told you to buy a home, your aunts and uncles owned a home, they told you to buy a home, your neighbors owned a home, they told you to buy a home. And the reason they bought a home is because the banks sold it to them. A house is a product of the bank. The bank's like, how can we get a bunch of money from people? Oh, we'll sell them these homes, which they can't afford, so we'll offer them a mortgage, and so they pay us until the day they die, or at least a full life sentence. A life sentence in prison is considered 20 years. We'll give them these 30-year mortgages. So it's like a life sentence and a half of paying us. So you don't need a home. And I'll prove it to you right now. What do you use a home for? You use a home for, practically speaking, a place to sleep, a place to eat, a place to work, a place to have friends over, a place for some privacy. Pretty much it. Like, what else do you use the home for? You walk into anyone's home right now, You can look through somebody's window, actually. What are they doing? They're trying to get some privacy. They're eating food. They're eating dinner with their family. They're working, or they're sleeping. Look. You tell me I can't do that if I rent? I can do anything a homeowner can do, except for maybe customize it by like giving it a crazy paint job or something, or re-landscaping it. Sure, I might not be able to do that without the landlord's permission. I might not be able to do some crazy renovations or something, but that's about it. It's like the one thing you can't do if you rent is crazy renovations. But most people don't want to do that anyway. Most people don't want to do that anyway. So, point is, you don't need to own it. You don't need to try to own it. You don't need to buy it. You can just use it. So that's the second reason why this idea of owning a home is very silly. Completely unnecessary. You're not really attached to your phone. You probably get a new phone every couple of years. So why be attached to a home? Just use it every day and then be okay with moving on. There's lots of people who've never even considered owning a home because they've always just grown up renting. Like, owning a home was never even like a concept for them, and they're totally fine with continuing to rent. But in the West, a lot of Americans, Canadians, are brought up with this idea that you gotta own. They put a lot of pressure on themselves to own. I know that was me in the past too. It's like, I gotta buy. So unnecessary now. I feel so much better knowing what I'm sharing with you. Now the third reason why owning a home is a terrible idea, or trying to own a home is a terrible idea, buying a home is a terrible idea, is because not only will you never actually own it, not only do you not need it, but you don't even want it. You don't want a home. I've had so many people message me recently since I put out this free guide that I'll share with you in the description below about going into depth on 14 reasons why owning a home is a terrible idea. Since I put out that guide, I've had so many people DM me saying, Ted, you're so right. I own a home and it's a pain in the ass. The maintenance on a house, chronic maintenance, is a huge pain in the ass. Not just financially, but emotionally as well. Intellectually as well. It's a pain in the ass intellectually, wondering like, how do I figure out this plumbing issue? How do I figure out this broken window issue? How do I figure out this leaky roof situation? How do I figure out this mold situation? Like, intellectually, you're like wrapping your brain around, how do I fix this shit on an ongoing basis? And then emotionally, you're like, oh, I gotta deal with that shit again. It's broken again. Or damn, they got infested with termites and mice and shit. Like, it's constantly dealing with these maintenance tasks. And yeah, financially too, on average, statistically speaking, you can Google this, but statistically speaking, people spend 2.5% of the value of the home per year on maintenance. So if the home costs $1 million, most people are spending $25,000 a year on maintenance. That sounds like a lot. You probably think, Ted, there's no freaking way. But yeah, way. Inflation is a real thing. I see my mom, I see my dad, I see my landlords, I see the repairs they're doing on a regular basis. Yeah, it adds up. 2.5% per year, even on a new home. That's the wild part. Appliances, everything. So, you don't even want to own a home. And I'll tell you another reason why you don't own a home. Because most people, probably you included, love the idea of being free. You love the idea of freedom. You love the idea of being able to travel the world. You love the idea of being able to pack up and go whenever you want without having these attachments weighing you down. Most people's biggest stress in life is like all the stuff that they own. As they quote in Fight Club, it's like, I don't know the exact quote, but it's something like, when you own too much shit, the stuff that you own ends up owning you. And when people just pack all their shit up, they become a minimalist, they live out of a backpack. I'm taking to the extreme in this example, but they feel so light and they feel so free and they feel so less weighed down. They feel so light. And with lightness comes happiness. So yeah, when I look at homes and I see people owning the home, and then I go and I just rent it myself, I'm like, oh, that's a beautiful home. That home is like $3 million. How much can I rent it for? $5 a month? Cool. Oceanfront mansion, $3 million oceanfront mansion. I can rent it right now for $5 a month. I feel like I'm the king in this situation. I can just waltz in there, give them some money, a little bit of money, it's only $5,000, and I get a $3 million mansion. You know how long it would take me to save up to get a mansion? Or forget saving up, let's say I got a mortgage. Okay, I put down 20% on, I can't do the math on a $3 million mansion, but let's say the house is $1 million. Easy math, $1 million house isn't even that great, but let's say $1 million house, 20% down payment, that's $200,000 I got to put down. I'm giving up 200 grand, and when you understand money is power, I'm giving away $200,000 of power just so I can now pay 8% interest on the remaining $800,000 for the next 30 years. That's ridiculous. A life sentence in prison is 20 years. So now I'm expected to pay a life sentence and a half of interest payments on a mortgage for a box for 4 walls and a fucking roof. Why? Why would I do that? I'm not attached to shit like that. Like I just sold my Tesla recently. I'm not attached to my Tesla. I get a new phone every freaking year. Upgrade phones. Next new one. I'm not going to be attached to a box like that for 30 years. Bruh, the amount I travel this year alone, where have I been? Well, because I don't own a place, I'm able to travel quite frequently, not having to worry about anything back home. I don't really even have a home. I've been to Dubai, I've been to Latvia, I've been to Iceland, I've been to Russia, Mexico. I've been all over the place. America. Now I'm here and walking in Canada right now talking to you. And the more I travel, you know what I realized? The more I travel, the more I realize that the world is just like one big neighborhood. And when I fly to Hawaii, it's just like a different part of the neighborhood. When I fly to Vancouver, it's just a different part of the neighborhood. When I fly to Russia, Moscow, downtown Moscow, it's a different part of the neighborhood. But the world is now, the earth is now my home. And all these countries, they're just little neighborhoods. So right now I'm just walking through another neighborhood. And why would I want to own or even try to own? Why do I want to be tied down to that? People, the biggest thing people talk about is Ted, because the value goes up. The value goes up and you can sell it for more. And when you rent, you're just pissing away money to the landlord. If that's still how you're thinking, I totally understand that, because that's like the main argument against renting versus owning. So totally understandable why you think that way. You've been programmed, conditioned, brainwashed to think that way, because that's what everybody says. And so humans, we parrot what everyone else says, especially because at first glance it does make sense. The logic is pretty sound. Why would I just pay the landlord all this money when I could put it into my own home? If you're still thinking that way, I strongly encourage you to get the free book down in the description of this video. I don't have an exact title for it just yet, but right now it's 14 reasons why owning a home is a terrible idea. I break down every argument and I equip you with perspectives that can empower you to free yourself. So you don't have to become attached to 4 walls and a roof and have all the stress that comes with it. You can instead be as free as a bird, free as a squirrel, and just treat this earth as you were meant to treat it, as your home. The earth is your home. The earth is your home. The earth is your home. If you want to travel, do it. You don't have to be tied down to one city, one location. All right, that's it for now. Peace out, much love. Check the link in the description for a free book. Adios. Bye, 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 bye. Ciao.